Hello, Cook With Me crew. Thank you for coming back for another Cook With Me episode, and I can't wait to make dinner with you. I probably say this every time, but this is one of my favorite recipes, and I can't wait to show you why. The amount of flavor that we are going to get out of this vegan or vegetarian-based shepherd's pie, I really want you to be able to taste, to believe. So traditional shepherd's pie, I'm fully well aware, even as many people have described it to me, is pretty much just meat and potatoes, prepared in a very simple, straightforward way, possibly to deal with leftover food that's in the fridge that maybe is not so pleasant. So by mashing the potatoes, we can disguise the imperfections. But in any case, for a lot of families, it's a bit of a staple food. So the reason I wanted to create this Earth Shepherd's Pie was to show you how we can basically make your shepherd's pie go further and incorporate a whole bunch of other nutrition. So that's my goal, is to get more nutritious foods into you without really feeling like you're having to change too many habits. And on that note, this recipe you could also put mincemeat into, but hopefully you'll see that your meat would go a lot further, like the cost of that meat would actually stretch out a lot further by adding all the other nutritious vegetables and lentils and things like that in it. So when we're done this shepherd's pie, I would like your feedback on, does it taste satiating enough? Do you feel any sense of lack when you eat it? Or could you maybe envision having that instead of, all the time, having just a plain meat and potatoes? Let's see if we can sneak all this more nutrition in there with a bunch of other veggies. Okay, so we're gonna get stuck straight in, but please give me a hello. Let me know either who's in the kitchen with you, or when the last time was that you made shepherd's pie, or I guess even just a little wave would be lovely to see who we've got on with us tonight. And then we're gonna get stuck straight in, because this recipe, actually, I've designed it because there's a fair amount of different vegetables, and because it takes maybe a little bit more time, I've actually made it a big batch so that you can benefit from the efficiencies of, for example, getting 3 casseroles out of 1 session in the kitchen. So this is how we're gonna do it. It's designed to serve 10 people, which you could probably space out over maybe 3 to 4 different casserole dishes. And the other thing I want to say before you go out and dig out all your casserole dishes is you don't have to bake this necessarily. It's only if you want that crispy topping on top that you'd have to actually put this in the oven. Because by the time we're done with it, everything is going to be cooked, and you could even serve what I call a lazy shepherd's pie, which is not baked, not in casserole form. You just have your nice base served on the plate on the bottom. Maybe you snuck in a few little fresh greens, and then your pile of mashed potatoes on top. So I call that lazy shepherd's pie, and I think it's actually going to save you time in the end. So I want to show you how to do that. Let's get stuck straight in. First things first, we're going to get the lentils cooking in the same pan that you'll be building the rest of the base in, just to save some dishes. So ideally you're going to need a big pan. And if you don't have something like this, you could be using a big soup pot as well. But we've got a nice kind of deep edge on this pan. This is just a 30-centimeter pan. And believe it or not, we are going to fit all of those vegetables into this pan by the time we're done. Okay, so this size will do, otherwise a big soup pot. And let's get the lentils happening in there. So if you've already soaked them, that's excellent. That means all that extra nutrition in the process of activation is going to become available to your body. If not, that's okay too. Next time you can do that. So I've got these French lentils. So these are just the kind of little version of the green lentils. There are big green lentils you can get as well. These are the French lentils, and before they were soaked, they were quite a dark green. It's kind of almost like a turquoise. So that's just a bit of a heads up. They're probably my favorite form of lentils, but I do try to mix it up and get variety as well. Okay, so let's give them a little drain. Bit of a rinse there. And we don't necessarily need to rinse them. I just want to make sure I don't get all the ones out of the jar here. There we go. Okay. And we'll put those straight into the pan. And the water amount that we cook them in doesn't really matter. You don't have to get it exactly right. We're not going to do the absorption method here. We're going to add more than we need so that we can taste them as they go, and when they're done cooking, we can take them out. Drain the extra water, that is. However, lentils are very forgiving. Very, very forgiving. There's not such a big deal if you happen to overcook them. How are we going? How's everyone's online? We good? Okay, can everyone hear us? Are we having a couple little difficulties with the sound? Monique, can you just let me know if you can hear us? Good question, Neve. Can you bump up the veggies and omit the lentils? 3 can't handle legumes. Yes, of course you can. Yes, definitely, Neve. The lentils are a great source of protein, but definitely there's plenty of protein in the other veggies. So of course you can if you don't want to do the lentils. The other thing you could do, if we can't do even beans, I mean, you could do beans. The main reason why I'm using the lentils is, I don't want to say mimic, because I'm not trying to mimic meat, but to give that same sort of hardiness and the same sort of feel of meat. So definitely, yes, to answer your question, you can omit the lentils and just add plenty of other veggies. Another veggie you might want to add for meatiness could be eggplant, if you like eggplant. That's quite a nice meaty one as well. So let's just add enough water to get that boiling. So we'll get that all fired up. So we only really just need enough, not even, just to cover it pretty much. Not super picky. If we need to add more later, we can. And then in order to speed this time up and make this more efficient, ideally we'd put a lid on. But if you haven't got a lid, just whack another frying pan on top. That'll do the trick too. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook down, boil away while we get the potatoes ready. So next up, if you haven't already washed the potatoes, let's get them washed and chopped up. They are gonna get mashed in the end, so it does not matter how we chop them up, it's just going to affect the speed of cooking. And we do have a bit of time up our sleeve while we get the rest of the veggies done. So not super critical here how big or small they are, but I don't know about you, but I like my potatoes really well cooked for mashed potatoes. They're nice and soft and easy to mash. And mashed potatoes are a bit of a treat. Not because I try to avoid potato, but just because I don't often go to the, I guess, to the extra step of mashing them. Normally roast potatoes are that one little bit easier, but let's do a treat with that. And you could even add in some sweet potato here if you wanted a little bit of pink mash or orange mash. And what else could you add? You could add different types of potato, different types of sweet potato. This is your shepherd's pie, so I'll let you customize that. Same thing here, if we want to speed up the cooking, we don't need to boil an entire pot full of water. We just need enough to create steam under the lid and also so that it doesn't boil dry. So let's see if we've got enough left in here. Okay, I might just add a little bit more just to create a little bit more steam. But really, we're not even needing to fully cover those potatoes. I think that's one thing that slows people down. And I'm talking about shaving off minutes of your cooking exercises, because minutes add up to be hours when we do this all the time, the long way. So a little bit less water also saves on water and saves us time. One more step you can do too to speed up the boiling is to put a dash of salt in the water. So that's going to reduce the boiling point and boil that faster. Okay, on the boil. Crank that up to full heat, and we'll come back and check on that one once it's boiling. All right, so you can see this is going to go pretty quickly. When we get into chopping all the veggies, this is where your tools of the kitchen are going to become your best friend, or you're going to sit here going, oh, this is taking forever. Or you're going to get really good at your knife skills. That's another option too. So your options here for making this quicker, and this is also why there's an advantage of making a large batch, is because now it's more worthwhile to use the tools that you've got that you otherwise may have not felt were worth dirtying. So what I'm talking about here are your food processor that has the slicing blades. That is a perfect piece of equipment for this recipe because you can just pop everything through and it'll chop everything for you in no time. I'm going to do the one step a little bit slower than that, which for me it's quite fast anyways, is the mandolin. So if you've got access to one of those, let's use that. Otherwise, definitely with your knife, some things we just need to cut with the knife. So we'll get to that after. Let's start with the things that we are going to cook as soon as the lentils are done cooking. So now you might just need a bowl to put the vegetables in that we're going to throw into the pan as soon as the lentils are done cooking. I'm going to grab a big bowl. All right. Get yourself all organized. And here we go. Okay, so first that's going to go into the pan. We're going to need our onions, our celery, our garlic, and if you wanted, you could even chuck in the zucchini as well. So now pretty much this recipe becomes a little bit of an exercise of skill in terms of your chopping, or like I said, using the equipment for what it's designed for. How's everyone going? Okay, good question, Neve. Could you blitz everything in the Thermomix? Definitely. you are pretty much not going to see a lot of the end shape of these veggies by the time they're cooking. You will, but it's not going to matter as long as everything kind of tastes good and is in that nice creamy sauce that we're going to make. So yes, you can definitely blitz it in the Thermomix. You may then just want to blitz one vegetable at a time so you have a bit more control over the end result that comes out. Because I know it's very easy to quickly overdo the vegetables in the Thermomix. So yes, good question, Neve. You can do it in the Thermomix. Go slow, one veggie at a time, and you'll probably be happier with the results. All right, how's everyone else going? I want to know who's ever had, well, first of all, when was the last time you had any shepherd's pie? And then if anyone's ever had more of a vegetarian version. Wow, this is an interesting onion. Don't know what's going on with this one, but it's got some funky bits. Okay, let's get rid of that skin. And notice I've kept this one whole. So if I was chopping it with a knife, I would have cut it in half because it makes it easier to peel. But because I'm going to put this through the mandolin, I'm going to leave it whole. Okay, I think we're good now. There we go. Let's get this out of the way. All right, and I forgot to grab my garlic, so bear with me 1 second while you chop. Let's see where we've got some garlic here. Oh, no, there we go. That's handy. Okay, now garlic, if you love it, or if there's any form of flu bug going around in the house, put more in. I don't know about you, but it's one of my favorite flavors in a dish. And any excuse that I can to not have to go and have meetings tomorrow, I will eat as much garlic as I can. I just love it. Probably should have been born Italian or something. I don't know. Okay, so lots of garlic. Let's put in this one. Officially, I've called for 3 large cloves, so we could do 1 more of these nice big ones. Love these elephant garlics. Why not? Let's do 1 more. Keeping in mind that we're making 10 serves of this dish, okay? So like I said, even if tonight might take a touch longer than usual, you'll probably be really amazed to see that you're gonna end up with plenty of food. And it's very easy to freeze, very easy to take out and make for a quick meal another day. So would love for you to gain from the experience of seeing how efficiency works in action. Okay, we're still going okay over here. Good. So we can just let that boil away. Okay, let's get chopping. Garlic, might as well skewer that on there. And I'm actually gonna do it straight into the bowl because I wanna get all those garlic juices as well. Another one in. There's our beautiful chopped garlic. Same thing with the onions. Now, if we have big chunks left over, we'll just have to give them a quick little chop by hand. And we're gonna move that bowl out of the way to get rid of its acid over there so we don't have a crying fest. It's not my birthday. Okay, let's get those guys out of the way. It's like a bit of a game. How fast can you cut onions so you don't cry? Okay, now, where are we up to, everyone? Hi, Karen. Hi, Neve. Hi, Nick. Hi, Anna and Monique. Who else have we got on? Karen. Yes, I said Karen. Thanks, guys. Karen, is there a difference between green and red lentils? Good question. Yes. Okay. Red lentils are actually the interior of the big green lentils. So that's why sorry, I'm crying here. That's why red lentils cook a bunch faster than the big shell green lentils, because you're actually getting a little bit more of the husk or the hull in the green lentils. So there's a slight difference, but technically they are the same thing. Wow, those are really strong onions. Okay, moving forward, I want to show you guys the trick with celery, because I find that a lot of people throw away much of the good part of the celery. So in a recipe like this, where we just really want the flavor of the celery, And you've just bought this lovely big bunch of organic celery, which is gorgeous and crispy and delicious. We do not want to waste this lovely bit up here, which I normally see get chopped off about here and thrown away. And then I normally see the people that see all these leaves and they chop and throw those away too. That's a lot of waste. I don't really want to do that. So what I want to do is put all of the stuff that would otherwise get thrown away into our dish. So all these leafy bits is where all the flavor is. And believe it or not, a lot of people's association with the flavor of mince, meat mince, in a lot of dishes traditionally is coming from a lot of the flavor in celery. In most stock patters, celery is actually one of the main ingredients. So once we've given these just a bit of a good wash, the rest of my veggies are already washed, otherwise I would have done this in my vinegar bowl, as I've shown you in the past. So here, this is where your food processor that has slicing blades would be a star, a rock star, because we want to chop through this really quickly. Let's see how our knife skills go. And then with the rest of that celery, you know what to do with that. That's normally the part people like eating. So that one we can actually cut up and leave to sit in water, submerged in water in the fridge, and that'll keep it crisp for so long. And if you change the water maybe every week, it would probably keep for 2 or 3 weeks. Nice and crisp, fresh in the fridge like that. So that's, yeah, we're just gonna put this part into the recipe. Okay, grab our big bowl, add that in with the onions and the garlic. Done. All right, what are we up to next? Now we can put the mushrooms in with that one as well, because it's nice when the mushrooms get a chance to kind of cook down a fair amount. I just want you to zoom in on this one because I get a lot of people asking me, do you wash your mushrooms? And so what I did here is I just have had these sitting in water, just clean water, because I want to show you the bowl when we take out the mushrooms. Okay, and these are organic mushrooms, so different or no different as far as they grow in dirt. So if ever you were needing convincing about washing your mushrooms, I don't know if you can see that, see what's in there. Might need a white background for you to be able to see that, but basically, there we go, if you want to zoom down on that one. I think that's reason enough to want to wash them. I'm all about eating dirt, but probably don't need to eat that much every day when we have mushrooms. So there's a little reason to wash your mushrooms. Okay, and again, why don't we just use the machine that we've got. We could go the thick blade for that, because I like a bit of texture in my mushrooms. I don't know. So if you have someone in the family that doesn't like mushroom flavor, use the smallest cut that you can get and they will soften down and sneak in there. The most discriminating of people will pick them up, but it's not like the mushroom gravy where they won't be able to tell. But I'll leave that one up to you. So how you cut it does matter, is my point there. So I'm just going to bust through these really quickly with the mandolin. Sometimes they kind of mush and other times it works really well. At the end of the day, like I said, it's all going to get thrown into that frying pan. Oh, here's a big one. That'll be fun. Can we do it? Yes. Mushroom pile. So the reason why mushrooms are a fairly important ingredient here is because of the umami content of the mushrooms. Now, sorry, umami is not really a content, it's more of a property, or yeah, a property. So umami is that taste in the middle of our tongue, and in order to satisfy that savory mince flavor, the mushrooms really go a long way to help us out with that. So try not to omit the mushrooms. You could maybe reduce them, but let's try to sneak them in there wherever possible. And you can see with the right tool, pretty quick. Okay. Mushrooms into the bowl, and then we're on to the next one. If you wanted smaller slices, you could just chop through that with the knife, rock chop a couple of times. There we go. Okay. Now, we're going to leave those into one bowl, and if our lentils are not quite done yet, we're going to just start piling into a different bowl, because the rest of these veggies, the zucchini, the carrot, the corn, and the peas, don't necessarily need to cook a very long time. So we're going to make sure we really cook down those ones well, but this next pile that we're going to do don't need as much time. So we can go check on the lentils now and see how they're going. Just bear with me 1 second. Got some steam coming out. Good. Oh, that smells quite good already. Maybe you guys are getting smell-o-vision. So they'll do a little bit more cooking as we add all the other ingredients to it, but we pretty much want them to be done. So if they're soft and easy to chew, they're done. That is plenty good enough for my liking. I'm going to leave the heat on. I'm going to drain the excess liquid out of these. And just for the sake of space, because these are already cooked, let's put them into another bowl. All right, so we'll drain the liquid off those ones, and then we're just going to leave them in another bowl. So you can actually, or we can just let them sit in here. That's probably fine. We'll leave that aside. I don't think we'll need the strainer from there on. Okay, so back onto the heat. Let's get some olive oil in the pan and then quickly toss in the other veggies so we can start cooking them down. All right, so come on back. Let's get these going. So nice and liberal. Like I said, we're making 10 serves. Let's give this some good extra bit. And keep in mind, because we're not using mince meat, we're not going to be getting any fat content from anything really. So using that extra bit of good quality fat from the olive oil is actually a great idea. Okay, and the rest of this can go straight on in. Now the pan's going to look really full until these start to reduce down, but that's perfectly okay. So I'm leaving that on fairly high heat. I'm at 8 out of 9, just so that we can generate a little bit of steam and keep that cooking a bit quicker. And I'm just going to let that steam down first. So put your lid back on, or your makeshift lid, and we'll come back to that in a second. The potatoes are going to take a bit longer. So now we're going to chop the rest of the veggies that we can put again to the side. So 1 cob of corn, if you love corn, or frozen corn if that's what you're using. It's very funny. Fresh corn on the cob was such a treat growing up as a kid in Canada, and it was probably because if it wasn't in season, we generally didn't buy it because it had been shipped in from so far in Canada or grown in a greenhouse. So when we got to have fresh corn on the cob in the summertime, oh my goodness, it was like candy for us. I'll never forget that. So now in Australia, when it's pretty much not quite year-round available, but pretty close, I like taking advantage of using fresh corn. Zucchini, I like small pieces, up to you, big or small. And let's see how quickly we can pump through those ones. Again, it all comes back to just having the right tool for the job and practicing your skills in using those tools. And definitely I want you to be doing this safely. There we go. This is why I leave the little knob on, so that we don't have any waste. Because if we cut that off, we have that much wasted zucchini. So, how's everyone going? Is everyone caught up? Hi Neville, how are you? Nev and Kim. Nev, are you the head chef tonight, or is Kim head chef and you're sous chef? I love that rule that you guys have. It's such a good idea. Prevent any arguing in the kitchen. There's our zucchini, all done. Carrots, we can even do the same cut with the carrots. Why not? Look at all this nutrition that we're going to be piling into this dish. Some people that I know and have met very even recently don't even get this many veggies in their week. So can you imagine getting it all in one dinner? I don't know, but I think it's pretty cool. Got our boiling potatoes. Let's just turn them down and let them keep going. Good stuff. In case anyone's wondering whether or not this is actually real life, as in the way I actually cook, aside from maybe having to put a little bit of extra makeup on so I don't look completely like a ghost on camera, yes, this is exactly how I cook at home. The only difference is that the kitchen might be a little bit more messy, but you generally see where it ends up by the time we're done this. And the other difference is I tend to be doing 3 or 4 things at once. So in that sense, I'm trying to simplify it for you and just be really clear on one recipe at a time. But in this example, if I kind of try to treat every single meal that I'm making as a bit of a mini food prep session. So because I'm already using the mandolin, I would be asking myself, what else can I cut up, or how much more can I cut up and use for other uses in the week? So just as a very quick example, I would have cut up an extra zucchini, an extra bit of corn and an extra carrot, put them in a container, not even knowing what I'm going to do with them yet. And then tomorrow I probably would have either sauteed them for breakfast with an egg, or turned them into a quick stir fry of an evening, adding a couple other fresh veggies, etc., etc. So many things you can do. So that's, I guess, the main difference between real life, even though this is pretty darn real and live, and everyday cooking. So I just wanted to point that out in case anyone feels like, oh yeah, but that's not actually how she cooks. It is. Okay, so that's our zucchini, our carrot, our corn, our peas. Got my organic peas here. Now we just need to season it up and let the thing cook down. So while we're doing that, we're going to actually make our cashew cream. And I'm going to show you that one in a sec. So in the meantime, that's all good to go. Let's toss the veggies that we've currently got in the pan, and we'll add the spices and stuff here as we go. So come on back with me. Neville, I love it. Neville's not so prepared. Have had to come to the rescue. He's far too preoccupied with his boat. Okay, so Kim's in the kitchen tonight. Thank you, Kim. And I don't blame Neville for being preoccupied with his brand new boat. Okay, there we go. So that's cooking down nicely. See how much it's shrunk down already? Let's give that a good little toss. And then we will add the rest of the spices to this, so that can start working its way, all the flavor through. Oh, that's beautiful already. It's amazing how much it shrinks down. That's a lot of the water content. All right, so let's season this thing up so it tastes delicious. Not exactly like a normal shepherd's pie, but still absolutely satiating and delicious nonetheless. How do we do that? Okay, some of the common flavors in shepherd's pie are going to be thyme. Some people may add sage or rosemary. So I've chosen thyme, and we've chosen a fair bit of it. So for the thyme, I've said 2 teaspoons. Now that's going to depend a little bit on your taste buds, but keep in mind we are making enough for 10 people. So here we have, well, that's a little bit more than 1 teaspoon. 1 and 2. This is a nice fresh thyme I've just ordered. Okay. Nutritional yeast. This is going to bring a dimension of flavor. There's a bit of water on the bench. It's not quite cheesiness, it's more just kind of that rich, savory flavor that we're after. And at the same time, we'll be giving ourselves some extra vitamin Bs. So if ever you're concerned about the vitamin B content, this is one of the ways that we can get it, other than direct supplementation. So I've said 1/3 of a cup, half a cup there. I'm just going to estimate roughly half a cup, because we can always taste it after and see how we went. So that's going to be about half a cup. Okay. Definitely, I love a bit of pepper in that, a fair amount. And then we come to more of the sauce-based flavoring. Now, when I say sauce-based, these are obviously very simple sauces, and we're still very much being aware of looking at ingredient labels whenever we buy anything prepackaged. So in this case, all we've got is barrel-aged coconut nectar, garlic, sun-dried mineral-rich sea salt. Okay, So this is just called coconut aminos barbecue style. And it tastes a little bit like tamari, but instead of being based on soy, it's based on coconut. So in this case, I've called for 3 to 4 tablespoons. So you might want to start with 3 and then taste it and see if you want to add a little bit more. Personally, I like a combination of the tamari, the coconut aminos, and a little bit of miso. But if you don't have, if you don't have all 3, that's absolutely fine. You can get away with individually as well. So just for the sake of good measure, I'm going to go 2 tablespoons of tamari and 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos. And this is another example on how we don't need to use stock powder, because I think I can say all stock powders. All the stock powders that I've seen, even unfortunately the organic ones, contain MSG or maltodextrin, which is an MSG containing ingredient as well. So 2 solid tablespoons of that guy. How is everyone here? Let's check on you guys. Now's a good time for questions. While this is going to cook down, I'd love you specifically to ask any questions you have about tasting dishes and not knowing what to add or how to adjust them. I'll save the miso for now. Neve, good question. Okay, so can't use the nutritional yeast. Soy, tamari, miso, or coconut. Would normally use the thermo veggie stock concentrate and more herbs. Would you recommend this or anything else? I feel for you, Neve. That's a lot of restrictions. Yes, definitely. You can achieve this with vegetables, more herbs, more spices, and your thermo veggie stock concentrate, definitely. So salt is going to go most of the way to creating the flavor with this, in addition to the herbs. So other herbs you might want to add would be sage, maybe a little bit of rosemary, like I said before. Completely up to you, but yes, if you're using a good quality salt, that's perfectly okay. So I feel for you. But there's definitely always a workaround. Now, our balsamic vinegar, about 3 teaspoons, 2 to 3 teaspoons. If you want to use red wine, you can too. This is a tablespoon, so not quite full. And again here, what I'm trying to kind of get through to you about flavor is we're not trying to make anything taste like balsamic vinegar or taste like tamari. We're trying to create a balanced profile of flavor such that when you bite into it, you can't really pick any one ingredient out, but you bite into it and go, wow, that is so flavorful. Okay, so that's kind of what we're trying to achieve here. So let's give that a good stir in. We haven't added any additional salt yet. I like to do that at the end once the veggies have done their work. And can you use apple cider vinegar instead of balsamic? Yes, go for it. Slightly different flavor profile, but it's still going to give us that nice acidity, slight bit of acidity that we're looking for. We don't want it to taste like vinegar. So start with, if ever you're unsure, start with less. The other thing, Neve, I wanted to bring up is if ever you're unsure about what to do to a dish and you have a hunch, so for example, the apple cider vinegar, just take a little bit of that in a side little bowl, add a tiny bit of the apple cider vinegar, have a taste of that, see how that goes. And if your theory was okay, then you can do it to the big dish. That applies in anything, any theory that you have about, should I add this to the dish? Not so sure. Okay, so those are our base flavors other than the added salt that we will put in after. Okay, and this is looking pretty cooked down. We still have some slightly big chunks of celery in there that haven't softened yet. So I might just push that a little bit longer. And while we're doing that, I'm going to test the potatoes. So grab a fork. And yeah, we definitely have more to go. So we got to make sure the lid's on there. Let's get some steam happening again in the potatoes. Keep them rocking. And while that's going, let's make our cashew cream. Now, the cashew cream is completely optional, but this is another example of what I mean when I say that I tend to make 2 or 3 dishes at once when I'm making a dinner. So with the cashew cream, for me, I actually see the cashew cream as something that's going to benefit me more in the next day or 2 for other things. So I'm going to make a double batch of what I've called for in the recipe of the cashew cream. And then tomorrow, with the extra that I'm going to set aside, I'll just flavor it up with something. It might be sun-dried tomatoes and paprika. It might be fresh dill from the garden and a bit of extra lemon and garlic. Whatever I want to make that dip, I can do that tomorrow. But while I'm at it, I'm going to get the benefit of that nice, rich creaminess that most people really look forward to a stroganoff, shepherd's pie for, is that creaminess. Okay, so when it comes to the cashew cream, it's going to blend down a lot easier if we've pre-soaked them. Now, if you've forgotten to pre-soak them, you can cheat a little bit and just use boiling water and see if you can wait 5 minutes with the boiling water, which will kind of absorb into them a bit better. This is different to the process of activation. Here, we're not necessarily activating them, we're just softening them so they can blend down a bit easier. So I'm just gonna rinse that extra water out of there very quickly while you have a look at the cooking down of our onions and our garlic, celery, mushrooms. Okay. And I think this is actually cooked down enough. Sorry to interrupt the cashew cream process. I think this is actually cooked down enough. We can actually add those other veggies, let them keep cooking. And then we're actually going to be done here a bit quicker than maybe people would have thought. So let's have a taste. Okay, so we're getting close. The thyme still needs to mellow into the dish. And as is the case with most dishes where we're adding the nice spices to it, it's going to taste better the next day as well. So bear with me, stay right here. I'm just going to grab that cutting board of veggies and scoop them all in. And we can add our peas. Why not the whole bag? There we go. All right. So we'll get that mixed in. Definitely going to need some added salt, and that's perfectly expected. I just like to do it at the end, just in case, so we can get more control over that. Okay, so that's calmed down a little bit, adding that cool bit of veggies to it. Crazy that it's all fit in there, hey, and we still haven't added the lentils, but it will fit. Okay, back to the cashew cream, sorry about that. Now, a blender you will need for cashew cream, and the better blender you have, the smoother the cashew cream will be. But if you've never tasted any different, then it doesn't matter if you've got chunks in it, right? So that's all good. Let's put the cashews in. Like I said, that's actually a double batch. That's 1.5 cups of cashews. And if I'm just making a very basic cream, I'm gonna wanna put in a little bit of lemon juice, just a pinch of salt to bring out that extra bit of flavor that we want. Cashews are actually quite sweet, so just a little touch of salt into that. Okay, I'm gonna grab a lemon. And let's start with half a lemon. And then you're just going to need a little bit of filtered water. So if you don't already have that handy, let's get yourself start with about 1 cup, but don't put it all in just yet. We're just going to use as much as we absolutely need to get a nice thick cream out of that, so you can use it as a dip tomorrow. So, okay, less is more. So start with less than you think you need. And we blend it down as we go. I'm going to use the wand just to help it go a little bit more smooth. Okay, sorry for the noise. Okay, now this is after 35 seconds. So you see there's still a little bit of chunkiness to it, okay? This is, I normally like to go 60 seconds for my cashew cream because we can get it smoother than that. We just need to give the blender a little bit more time to work with it. So I'm gonna go another 35. Okay, and look at that difference. Look how much smoother that is. So just that extra 35 seconds got rid of all the chunkiness, which is what I love, okay? So that is our fluffy, look, it looks like whipped cream, fluffy cashew cream, and that's a very nice, plain, neutral base that we can then add a whole bunch of other things to. Turn it into a dip tomorrow. You could even add this onto a layer for a raw dessert and turn this into a yummy layer for that. But for us, it's gonna act as our rich, creamy, almost sour cream kind of texture that we're gonna add to this dish. So we'll just leave that to the side for now. Okay, and let's give this a stir and a little taste, and we're so near done. How is everyone going along? Are we all caught up? Who's wanting to do the cashew cream? I'm curious to know, or to know if you've ever done anything like that before. Because again, I guess with the right equipment, it can be just so quick and easy. Okay, so that's starting to look really nice. I don't know if you picked up on it before, but we do not have to bake this dish. So we can take it to the full, I guess, full cooked state that we want it at, or we can stop it now if you like it slightly kind of more firm on the vegetable side. That's entirely up to you. We can test our potatoes again, see how they're going. We are so close. Not quite there. Okay, so now that that's had a chance to cook down and we've got a little bit more space left in the pot, let's add the lentils. Then we'll do our final tasting, our final flavoring, and we'll add the cashew cream as well. So grab your lentils. Add them in. You can see why we needed a large pot or pan. And this is a really good example of what I talk about when I say get yourself big bowls and bigger utensils than you think you need, because then you can make a big batch and have no dramas about spilling it all over the edges. Okay. Now, because I did a double batch, I could be adding half of this cashew cream to that. Just note though, that if we want to cook this down a lot more, then this is going to get much thicker. So if we want to keep it really rich and creamy, and if you happen to add that a bit too soon, you might just have to add a little bit of extra water to keep it creamy. Okay. So because I'm kind of speeding it along, I'm going to add that straight away. But you may want to finish cooking the veggies exactly to your liking before you add the cashew cream. I'll try to only use half. Yum. And then we are going to need to add a little bit of salt. So let's make sure we have a little toss through of this first, and then we'll add that in. Now we also made quite a thick cashew cream there. So if you like quite a saucy base to your shepherd's pie, then either arrest the cooking before you lose all of those precious juices, or you might have to add a little bit more liquid in at the end. So entirely up to you. But we're starting to build some yummy flavor here. Okay, so it's not fully mixed through yet, but let's try and have a couple of tastes there, and let's start adjusting. You may want to add more tamari. You may want to add more coconut aminos, miso. If you're using that stock paste, the Thermomix stock paste that you've got homemade there, Neve, you could add a bit more of that, which is mostly salt content in that sense. So let's have a little taste. I met a lady once who said that she never tastes anything before she serves it, because once she's tasted it, she doesn't then want to sit down at the dinner table and eat it. I found that very interesting. Personally, I think it's important to taste what you're serving to others before you do it, but maybe not. Maybe you just trust in the luck of the draw. Okay, so I'm going to start here with about 2 teaspoons worth of salt and retaste. Make sure we get a good mix through there. And by now, all the veggies have really heated up. So now that we're still on high temperature, this is actually gonna, like, it'll cook much faster at the bottom now that everything is heated through. So just pay attention to that. You might need to stir it a little bit more often. This is a great dish to make when you've got a friend that's unwell, because it generally can please anyone as far as dietary concerns or requirements. Maybe not Neve's family, I feel for you on that one. But for most people, you can satisfy that. Or this is often a dish that I'll make when a friend's having a baby, you just want to get something into the freezer that's really easy to pop out, something not too foreign. But it's really easy, like you can see, if you've got the big pan, to do a big dish, a big batch. Yeah, good, happy with that. Okay. So keep a seasoning, like there's times when I have to season 6 times and taste 6 times, so it doesn't matter how long it takes, but get to that point where you just go, wow, that is amazing. And unlike what we do when we do dressings or sauces, this doesn't have to be super punchy, otherwise, because this is actually what we're eating. We're not going to pour that sauce or dressing over a bunch of plain veggies. This we want to taste like we could just sit here and eat a whole bowl of it. Not too salty, not too punchy. Okay. Let's see how these potatoes are going. We're going to rush them along so we can eat. Yes, they are soft. They cooperated. I probably don't need to show you how to mash potatoes, but I will, just because we can. Let's drain the extra water off of that. How's everyone going? Sam, hello. It's so good to see you. Oh, is Cash on? Cash is on. Hello, Cash. Haven't seen you in ages. Can't wait to try making the cashew cream tomorrow for Mom and Dad. Yes, awesome, Cash. I'm going to get to watch it again tomorrow. Hope I like it too. Thank you so much. Yes, please keep us posted. Let us know how it goes. Okay, let's drain these potatoes. Turn that one off. Being very careful. It's very hot. Make some space for ourselves here. And remember that steam burns much faster than the hot water itself. So we're always opening away from us, pouring away from us, sorry. And keeping the steam out of the way. And probably out of the camera's way. Didn't think about that one. Okay. And this is where you can ask somebody with a lot of muscles to come and help you. Or instead of going to the gym, you get to do it yourself. While it's still hot, much easier to mash like that. I like my mashed potatoes creamy, so I'm going to add even a little bit of extra soy milk. You could add any other nut milk that you've got. You could add just water if you wanted. You could add stock if you've got some of that on hand. A little pinch of salt. And I like to add a little bit of nutritional yeast and a dash of olive oil as well. A good dash. Because if, traditionally mashed potatoes had a whole bunch of cream in it, which is quite high in fat. So in terms of getting that richness, that's how we achieve that. And here's the fun bit where you can get the teens involved or the kids. The one thing you can't really cheat with is mashed potatoes, because we can't put this into a blender, otherwise we're going to get string. So it forms like a goopy, stringy, yeah, you don't want to put potato through blades, otherwise it does that, which is why they invented a thing called the potato ricer, which you may have actually seen is how the restaurants tend to get their mashed potatoes, well, when they're real mashed potatoes, not out of a packet. That's how they get them nice and smooth. It rubs them through a very fine sieve, basically. So we're going to do manpower. It's good though, because now I don't have to go to the gym, like you just think about it in a different way, and all of a sudden you get your exercise. And if it's still too dry, it just happens, the potatoes are going to be really different. So if it's still too dry, you can add another touch of these bits. There we go. Okay, so now we're pretty much ready to assemble it. You don't even need to bake it. If you wanted to, you could, just to get the nice crispy top on top. but I find I like to use either a pre-toasted nut or seed sprinkle on top, and then that saves me having to put it in the oven. I don't like lumps in my potatoes, so forgive me, I'm going the extra mile. There we go. It's good anger management too, if you have any. Whew, I'm sweating. Are you guys sweating? At least dinner's gonna be made. Okay, let's put it together. Our Lazy Man shepherd's pie. I'd love it if we could have some fresh greens and fresh spinach on here to start out the plate, but we're going to start off with instead just the meat and potatoes. There, see how quickly that cooked down the bottom? So I should have turned that heat down straight away. That's all right, we're still good. Okay, so if we were to be serving this as Lazy Man shepherd's pie, there we have it. Put our lovely dollop of mashed potato on top, however you like it. And I think it needs a little dash, like I said, of either crushed toasted nuts, or in this case, my macadamia parmesan, which pretty much always lives in the fridge because it's such a nice topping on so many things. And that's how I'm going to finish that off. And because I can, a very special little touch. Oh my gosh, if ever you get a chance to get to Canada, I recommend you go and find Evolution. It's the most amazing olive oil and vinegar store. That's all they specialize in, and they use like high quality ingredients. So this is a very potent wild mushroom and sage oil, and I'm just going to put a little drizzle on that because it's just the finishing touch that I absolutely love. There we have it. So Lazy Man shepherd's pie, or your traditional form in a casserole dish. But now, as you can see, we've got plenty of meals ready to go for the next couple of days or for the freezer, and an easy go next time. How is everyone going? Did we catch up with everything? Let me just check in. Neve, do you ever bake it? I tend not to because I'm lazy. No, I just feel it's cooked, so I don't need to. But if you love that crispy topping on top, then definitely you can. Or if you need to bide yourself some time while you clean up the kitchen before you serve dinner, then you can definitely put it in the oven. But as far as it being fully cooked, it's fully cooked, so you don't need to bake it. Good question. Okay guys, thank you so much. This is Earth Shepherd's Pie. I hope you enjoy, and I would love to hear your feedback on how it goes down for everyone. And Cash, please keep me updated. I want to see how it goes for you tomorrow. Thanks everyone, we'll see you on the next Cook With Me.